familiar with this by now. It was first released in 2008, so it's about 4 years old at this point. Now, its successor right behind is the Canon EOS 5D Mark III. And so this guy was just announced earlier this month, and we've been using it for about 2 weeks now. And I'll give you a walk around. Now, the body hasn't really changed all that much from the 5D Mark II, which is a 4-year-old camera. I guess if it works, why change it? We have the same ports as we did on the 5D Mark II over here on the right side of the camera. So I'm going to open up these panels here. We have a microphone port here, there's a flash connector, a remote port as well, headphone jack, a mini USB and AV digital out, and an HDMI port over here. Now the physical design really hasn't changed all that much. You'll notice that the newer camera is slightly taller, although it might be exaggerated because of the video angle that we have right now. Go around to the back, we have a slightly larger 3.2-inch LCD on the rear. And I'll go ahead and turn this on here. The power switch has moved up to the top, so the on-off switch is right up here instead of on the bottom like we had on the 5D Mark II. Same wheel design with a set button in the center. There's a dedicated lock now though, so instead of having the 2-position on switch, we have a lock to turn off the rear wheel. There's a new live view mode that allows you to shoot up to 6 consecutive frames per second. You can also shoot in single mode as well, but it's a quiet mode, and so the shutter, it actually uses the CMOS sensor inside to start the capture instead of using a front curtain shutter, and so it's much quieter. I'll show you in just a minute. Going over to the right side of the camera, we have dual slots. So there's now a CF card slot here as well as an SD card slot. On the 5D Mark II we only had one slot for a CF card. And then over on the front, not a whole lot has changed here. We have obviously a Canon EOS mount with the lens release right there, the Mark III branding, EOS 5D. These buttons right up here and then the top LCD really haven't changed at all. And so you'll see if you've used the 5D Mark II, the operation should be quite familiar here. So let me pop a lens on it. I have a 24 to 105 f4L lens right here. So this lens was actually available as a kit lens with the 5D Mark II. There's no kit with the 5D Mark III. The camera by itself is actually the same as the kit price was with the 5D Mark II. So you're going to pay $34.99 for this. The 5D Mark II body only when it was announced was $26.99, so it's quite a big price jump there. So I have the lens attached. I'm going to go ahead into live view mode and then take a picture of this SanDisk CF card right here. And so in live view mode, the live view mode focusing is a little bit faster than on the 5D Mark II, although it's definitely not ideal. So if I take it out of live view, we have much faster focusing. Kind of have to hold it up to focus, but there you go. We're in focus right now. And then we're in 6 frame per second consecutive shooting mode right now. So let me go ahead and focus, and then I'll bring the camera down so you can see it. So 6 frames per second. If we go into live view mode, we also have 6 frames per second. Once it focuses there. Alright, let's go ahead and manually focus instead. Alright, and so we have a 6 frame per second consecutive shooting mode in live view as well. And as you could tell, it's much quieter. So I'll go back and forth. We're going to go out of live view and do 6 frames per second. Pretty noisy. Then once you go into live view, much quieter. And so it's not silent per se. It's actually called the silent shooting mode. You can definitely hear it when it's firing, although it is a much softer sound. And so the camera is actually using the CMOS sensor to begin the capture rather than the front curtain. And so we also have the option for a silent mode out of live view as well. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the drive up here. The S that we have right there is for silent, and so we're at silent, single frame capture for silent right now. And so we are not in live view, but we still have access to that quiet shutter. And so the sound, there's no difference in sound level between the silent shooting, the dedicated silent shooting mode, and the silent shooting mode in live view. So we also have a consecutive mode here as well. I'm going to jump into that. It's 3 frames per second though, instead of 6 frames per second like we have in live view. So I will demonstrate 6 frames per second in live view again, just so you can get an idea. Okay, so same sound, same decibel level from what I can tell. But if you're in live view, you have access to 6 frames per second instead of the 3 frame per second dedicated mode. We can flip into video mode. There's a little toggle here, so instead of having a button on the rear, we have this toggle. So now we are in video mode. To start video capture, you just hit that start-stop button. And so we also have the border here to show a 16:9 view, so you can get an idea of framing before you hit start. And so that's it for the interface. Let me show you the menu system. Very similar to the 5D Mark II. We have a toggle up here that will allow you to jump through the different menu settings, like so. A single page for each list of menu items. So you're not going to be scrolling down beyond this page here. And then we also have a quick menu. You have to get out of video mode for that. Quick menu right there, and so we have access to some of these settings here as well. So we can change the resolution, we can switch between the cards, we can change the shooting mode here, we can change the exposure, focus, which I have actually adjusted on the lens, so we can't change it here, white balance, and then we can do white balance shift right there. And then there's some special shooting modes as well. Exposure compensation, ISO. Now this goes up all the way to ISO 102,400. And so we get some pretty noisy images here, as you'll see in the gallery. I would recommend staying at 12,800 or below if you can. But if you're shooting for the web, 25,600 should be fine. If you scale your images to about 600 wide, 600 pixels wide, 51,200 and 102,400 will work if you're in a bind, but definitely avoid those modes if you can. But really shooting anywhere from 100 to 25,600 is usable if you're shooting for the web. If you're shooting for prints, I'd stay at 12,800 or below. But you can change it right there through the quick menu, just as you can all these other settings right there. And so we have aperture and shutter speed controls when we're not in quick menu mode. And so you can turn the rear wheel to control the aperture when you're in manual, and then the top wheel here controls the shutter speed. So again, this is the Canon EOS 5D Mark III. As you can see right there, not a huge design change, but a huge performance change for sure, and definitely some improvements in the image quality department. So this is available, it should be shipping within the next few weeks for $34.99 body only.